So, I'm sure probably around 99% of you have played Skyrim, right? If not Skyrim, then Oblivion? No? Okay, stick with me here. Skyrim has this trap system where you would go into dungeons and you'd walk over a trigger, and poisoned arrows would shoot at you, or you'd break a tripwire and a giant club would swing at you, or whatever. Here's the point. I rather liked this system. It could be annoying, but when done right, it could be really fun and add an element of danger to already dangerous situations. The thing is, I think balance is important. If you have too many traps, you end up playing Minesweeper. If you have too few, they aren't really a part of the game and will most likely be ignored. So I've decided to implement traps and AOE zones into my game, as well as lingering poisons. Just to clarify, AOE is area of effect. Again, balance will be important, but for now, I'm just getting them made and putting them in the game. To me, traps have always been a big part of dungeon delving, and have been around in gaming for more than 30 years now. I remember playing games like Dungeon Siege and Titan's Quest, and having to navigate well in order to avoid certain dangers and traps. Yes, I am pretty old. Never mind the very game this one is based on, which is full of traps and obstacles, as are almost all of FromSoft's games. I think there will be a subsection of people that don't like traps in games and don't want me to put them in, but hey, it's my game. Apart from traps, I've also implemented AOE zones and triggers. This is pretty simple and will be mostly used for testing, but does also have some in-game uses like healing areas or dangerous areas. For example, if you reach the Hollow Edge Basalt in the other game in this universe, Death Rattle Hell Unleashed, you'll find large pools of lava and magma. Obviously, traversing through them will be a danger and will hurt you if you are stationary in the lava. This is an example of a damaging area of effect. A more direct example to this game would be a poisonous area where there are poisonous mushrooms or creatures, or even lava, who knows. Other examples are areas of effect from destruction spells, or such. Basic stuff really. As for the healing part, it's the opposite. So perhaps a healing water area or something like that. There are many use cases. Once-off danger and healing triggers also exist. These are, for example, the moment a trap collides with the player, or such cases. They can also be static once-off triggers, but these are mostly collisions. So, let's check out what I've been working on and my idea for how the traps will work in the game. For now, there are 4 kinds of traps. You have the classic blade trap, which just spikes up through little holes from the floor. This one does a lot of damage but is pretty easy to avoid and will be easily spotted in most areas. This trap is a pretty common one as far as games go and remains a classic. Makes me think of the old Tomb Raider games. Then you have a sword trap. This is similar to the blade trap, but has a different shape and speed of action. It also has a different area of effect, as it is elongated and not squared. This one is really fast and does a lot of damage. It also keeps damaging you if you hang around within its reach for too long. Then there is a wall-mounted spear trap. Right now I have a cluster of spears, but it can also be a single spear. This trap sends out a spear or many spears quite far on a timer. These spears will then retract back into the trap. I will also make a version of this that is triggered by the player, probably by stepping on a stone, like the next trap. This is the arrow trap. This trap gets triggered by the player stepping on a stone, which is facing the trap itself. The trap then sends out a bunch of arrows towards the player. If you are quick, you can avoid it. Just like the others, I have the option to make more variety and many different versions of this trap. This trap has 2 versions right now, but they work the same. The only difference is one is poisoned and one isn't. So this is how poisons will work in the game. You'll get poisoned by something, in this case the arrow trap. Then, you'll be poisoned for a certain time. For testing purposes, it's set to 10 seconds for now. A green bar will come up above your vitals at the bottom of the screen, which will indicate the amount of time you have left until the poison has stopped. You can also see a green bloodshot image around your camera while you are poisoned. If you are not poisoned but are damaged, that image will be red. This system is pretty basic but works quite well visually and practically. While you are poisoned, your health will drop by a certain amount, in this case 1 health per second. I'm considering adding a third flask that will be used as an anti-poison flask, but I'm unsure whether I want to do this or not. What do you all think? This will also require a new addition to the interactable system where you can refill your flask, perhaps a special plant or something like that. Let me know what you think. And not only traps will poison you in the game. You can get poisoned by many things, certain plants, certain areas, some enemies' weapons or bites, and so on. There will be many dangers to face with the poison system. So all traps have a few main components. They have audio sources so that players can hear them, each fine-tuned to its own use case. Then they have animators, each with its own timings and speeds, as well as differing actions. Then they have differing styles and sizes of colliders to accommodate each type. And then finally, of course, they have the scripting component, which allows everything to work together to form an actual trap. This tells the trap whether it is a ranged or stationary trap, whether it has poison or not, links its animation and audio with the timers and so on. I won't get into the technical stuff too much, as this is a devlog and not a tutorial. All traps have audio systems, but they use them a little bit differently. Some traps can be heard from far away, and some only up close, and others not at all. They are set up this way to offer differing levels of difficulty with trap wayfinding. So I plan to add more traps in the future, but for now, these are what I have available. The ones I'd like to add are tripwire traps that work similar to the ranged arrow trap that I have now, but will swing down a big object and hit you. Then honeypot traps that you can use against the enemy, like hanging lamps that act as fire bombs or such that can be shot down onto enemies but also onto yourself. Another one I'd like to add is a simple treasure trap where opening certain treasures might poison you or damage you in some way. These traps will always have a visible trigger and workaround to avoid them. Traps should be an obstacle, but still fun in my eyes. They should not take away from this experience. I think I can still improve the traps that I have by adding more variety to them, as well as player-based action like screen shake and physical movement, like the traps will push you away or such. These are things that I will most likely implement. Okay, that's it for the video then. These are systems I think will add a lot of fun and challenging elements to the game, but as I've said, will need to be done correctly to be fun, which will be a challenge for me, but it's one that I relish. That's about it for the video. Thanks for watching. This one was a bit shorter than some of the previous ones, but not all topics will be the same amount of content. Follow along for more if this project interests you, and get involved in the comments or send me an email if you have any thoughts or suggestions. I hope to hear from you soon. You can find my email linked down below. Thank you for all the positive responses on the devlogs so far. I hope you liked this one too. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep spelunking.